Coming up on District Wire News, a bomb scare in the air. We'll tell you why 3 countries are putting a lockdown on their freight planes. A full report straight ahead.
And we've got team coverage of tomorrow's elections. We'll show you whether or not the Tea Party's heavy campaigning has paid off. District Wire News starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Jack Weingart.
And I'm Megan Sweeney.
Britain, Germany, and the U.S. have stopped all air travel from Yemen after 2 suspicious packages were discovered overseas. The packages were found on U.S.-bound cargo planes and were meant to explode in flight.
In the jittery hours after the discovery of the plot, an Emirates Airlines passenger jet, escorted by fighter jets, touches down at JFK Airport in New York. Nothing dangerous was found in the cargo hold, but officials have said at least 1 bomb found last week may have traveled on passenger planes. How safe is your average cargo hold? The TSA says all the cargo on passenger planes on domestic U.S. flights is screened, but not all cargo from overseas is screened, just what's classified as high risk. The loophole was supposed to be closed by August of this year. Congressman Ed Markey helped pass a law requiring it. Why the delay for international passenger flights? But even when everything's in place to screen all cargo on passenger planes, the system may not be airtight. I've got toner cartridges here similar to the ones that were at play in this incident. One is in foil wrap, one's in bubble wrap. They all get placed in boxes like this when they're shipped. I'm going to run it through an X-ray machine similar to the ones that are used in airports. You can see it coming through here on the screen. And I'm joined by an airline security expert, Peter Goles, former managing director of the NTSB. Peter, in Britain, apparently when they were tipped off to this, they brought in human and canine teams, and they at first couldn't find it. Why couldn't they find an explosive in a device like this?
Well, first of all, the dogs are not 100%. They're fabulous. They work hard, but they're not 100%. Secondly, if the bomb maker is skilled, if he's putting this bomb together in a clean environment, if it is being sealed in a vacuum-packed environment, it could be very difficult for a dog working a large area of cargo to pick that scent up.
Goles also says a lot of that cargo is in huge pallets, and security screeners and dogs might not be able to detect explosive material that's packed well, buried deep inside them. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
One person is wounded today in Greece after a parcel bomb exploded at the courier. This happened just a few days after the attempted bomb threats in the United States from Yemen. So far, 2 suspects have been arrested. The 2 men were wearing wigs and carrying Glock 9mm pistols. One was wearing a bulletproof vest.
Tomorrow is Election Day. Candidates are preparing to catch voters' attention for the last time. This midterm election will determine if the Democrats will keep the House and Senate, or if the Republicans will take over with Senator John Boehner as the new Speaker of the House.
With less than 24 hours until Election Day, Tea Party candidates are gearing up for big wins. Many believe that the attention these candidates are receiving will give the GOP the lead they need to take over the House and potentially the Senate tomorrow.
Many of the polls that came out today show that Republicans have reason to celebrate tomorrow, as this election could be one of the biggest wins for the GOP, giving them control of the House and potentially the Senate. American University's College Republican Vice President Todd Carney thinks that the Tea Party candidates could be bringing in some new votes that will help the GOP.
I don't know that necessarily, all the voters who are going to be voting Republican tomorrow necessarily agree with the Tea Party, or even, majority of them. But it's certainly brought in a lot of enthusiasm.
Thank you, everybody. Re-election.
It is believed that the enthusiasm the Tea Party candidates bring is from the fact that they are not like politicians who are currently in control.
Well, the Tea Party candidates, they run on the platform that they're the common everyday man, everyday woman, that, they're hit hard by these economic times, and they're just trying to have a voice to pretty much do the exact opposite of what's going on in Washington right now, which has resonated with voters quite well.
AU Student Government President Nate Bronstein thinks that having different opinions in power is a good thing, and that it's a normal part of America's political history.
It's very natural for the country to go in through these cycles where we will have a period of being primarily Democrat and then switching to a period of being primarily Republican.
While Republicans are ahead in many of the polls today, tomorrow's votes will show who the real winner is. Megan Ackerman, District Wire News.
With less than 24 hours until Election Day, Tea Party candidates are gearing up for big wins. Many believe that the attention these candidates are receiving will give the GOP the lead they need to take over the House and potentially the Senate tomorrow.
With only a day left before the midterm elections, a new Gallup poll says that Republicans are likely to take back the House. According to the poll, 55% of likely voters say they prefer GOP candidates, while only 40% like the Democrats, which was taken from a pool of around 1,500 people suggests that the Republican could gain at least 60 seats in the House. One state seems immune to the Republican gains. Maryland's Democratic Governor, Martin O'Malley, is running against former Maryland Governor Bob Ehrlich. Bobby Oler has the latest on the race. What do you think the latest polls show?
Well, with the Maryland governor's race, the polls currently show Governor Martin O'Malley, the incumbent, running against former Maryland Governor Bob Ehrlich. O'Malley has a 14-point lead, but a lot of Marylanders I talked to today say that they don't remember Ehrlich as a very good governor.
Just hours before Election Day, Maryland voters are making up their minds for who they want to be their next governor. But in an election where Democrats are feeling the heat, voters appear warm to O'Malley.
He is the guy who is taking care of the people. Basically, he is, he's for education, he's for the teachers, a lot of social agenda.
I think he cares about Maryland. I think Marylanders understand that he is a governor that will help Maryland become a good state and help with projects in the state. And I just don't think Ehrlich was a good governor. I think Marylanders remember that.
Ehrlich has been a talk show host on WMAL in Baltimore recently, debating a number of issues, but voters still remember his failed attempts to bring slot machines to Maryland.
Well, I disagreed with things he was doing, especially relating to the slots.
I think that the wave is going to turn probably at some point, and you're going to have Republicans who may have a chance, but not this one.
Now, Maryland is an interesting state demographically. It has two major metropolitan areas, the outside of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, and the suburbs around those areas are made up of traditionally Democratic voters. And at the same time, Maryland's Eastern Shore and Western Maryland are much more Republican. But more people live in and around those metropolitan areas, and that's why Maryland is so reliably blue. Jack, Megan, back to you.
Thanks, Bobby. Two students will have a slightly different view of tomorrow's election than others. They're running in it. Jordan Kuchenauer has the story.
Most AU students are gearing up to cast their ballot in tomorrow's elections, but two of them will be counting the ballots for their own names. Tyler Sedonis and Dion Jones are running for seats in the Neighborhood Advisory Commission this term. Under the Voice for You campaign initiative, the two are hoping to better represent the school in the nearby neighborhoods.
There's too much of a divide between neighbors and students. There's too much of there's not enough understanding right now.
This includes helping AU pass its campus plan and addressing the controversial ticketing of student cars parked in the street. Under campus policy, Sedonis and Jones have not been able to go door to door in the Anderson building, where 90% of Jones's voters live. Many students are still vague on the details of the Voice for You campaign.
Well, we've discussed it in my politics in the U.S. class, but other than that, I haven't heard much about it.
Others see the possibility of two of their own in the neighborhood commission as a positive.
I support it. I think we should have someone from AU.
But voters will decide Tuesday whether or not the area is ready for students to have their voices heard in the community. Jordan Kuchenauer with District Wire News.
California's Republican Governor, Meg Whitman, is running the most expensive campaign for governor in U.S. history. Whitman has already spent more than $162 million, spending 6 times as much as her opponent, Democrat Jerry Brown. The money has gone to TV ads, social media messages, postcards, and phone calls.
Comedy Central pundits Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert held a rally on the National Mall on Saturday. Amidst all the laughs, the rally to restore sanity and/or fear had some serious messages. CNN's Kate Baldwin has the story.
The rally to restore sanity and/or fear, more comedy show and music fest than overtly political rally. Appearances included Ozzy Osbourne, Sheryl Crow, even R2-D2. This event was organized by comedians Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. They insist this was not a political rally targeting a left-leaning or right-leaning crowd. So what was it? Here's Jon Stewart in his own words.
This was not a rally to ridicule people of faith or people of activism or to look down our noses at the heartland or passionate argument, or to suggest that times are not difficult and that we have nothing to fear. They are, and we do. But we live now in hard times, not end times.
People in the crowd said they were here for the laughs, but they also say politics was top of mind in why they turned out.
This is really about making a statement by body count for me. I felt it important to be here to show my son that it's important to be here for something that's not evil, fearful, critical, something that doesn't have to be, it could be for fun, but still make a statement at the same time. And that was an important point for me.
And two men who make a living off of mocking politicians and criticizing the media did just that today with a final message of, quote, "If we amplify everything, we hear nothing." Maybe the biggest rally of this very political weekend didn't include any politicians at all. Kate Baldwin, CNN, on the National Mall.
Coming up on District Wire News. The elections will take young voters come out of the polls. AU Director of Local Government Relations will join us to chat about tomorrow's election. Our live interview with Penny Pagano up next.
In A School in Mourning, American University students remember Professor Markham, coming up.